Hey there, and welcome to another one of my do-it-yourself videos for people at home. This is my wife's 2016 F350. It's a gas engine, 6.4 liters, and it's had the strangest thing. Of course, after 3 years on Ford's warranties, the little things are no longer covered. So one of these being, for the last 5 or 6 days, the intermittent windshield wiper will not shut off. No matter whether you play with it, turn it up full, turn it down, try the spray, try the indicators, it will not shut off. So what we're going to do is replace the intermittent signal and wiper switch. For this model, I went to Ford itself. I know it's quite often a little bit more expensive, but when you have a 2-year warranty on something like this, it does beat the occasional trip to Amazon. So I enjoy my local Ford dealer. They treat me very well, I think, over the years. I've dealt with them quite a bit. Bought vehicles, that is. I've never had to go back for much repairs. Knock on metal. Anyways, this is the interrupter switch, and this is the one I will be installing. So one of the first things I'll be doing is disconnecting the battery, because anytime you're working around the steering, you got to realize that hiding under that lovely little Ford label is essentially an improvised explosive device, otherwise known as your airbag. So the last thing you need to do is trip that little bastard off. So the easiest way of doing it is disconnect the battery, leave it for about 15 minutes, and that should hopefully, or according to the instructions, it should let that airbag be safe to work around. Now for the next part of this, you have to pull up this rubber, just pop it out, and then you'll see that the two halves of the plastic, you can pull that down. Now it's got clips on it, so just be gentle and just wiggle it around. There's a couple of clips in this area here that are a little tighter, but then you'll find that no problem, you'll get the bottom one down, and then after that the top half will just neatly pop out. Okay, so there's not a big issue on this thing. Just take your time, don't lose your temper, and away you go. Then 1 second, we'll get back to you. That then exposes the whole switch area, and we'll take that apart here momentarily. Now that you've exposed everything here, what you find is get the steering wheel parked at about the position that I've got it here. Not quite vertical, but very close to it. And then what's going to be happening is there are two screws, one here and one at the very bottom. Now in this truck there's the adjustment for the gas pedal, so you have to just pop the little tab that's on the gas pedal adjustment, just pop it up and it'll tip forward a bit. So I think you can see that in there where the tab is. Unfortunately, the steering wheel, I didn't quite park it far enough out of the way, so it keeps springing back in. Anyways, once you've done that, all you've got to do is just pull straight sideways on the intermittent switch. And you'll see that it just nice and easily, just like that, just pops out. Now they've got some dielectric grease on there. Bit messy, but adequate for the purposes of putting this thing back in. So that's my next step, is putting it in. Now this is the old unit that I took out, and if you notice at about the 1 o'clock position and about the 6, there are two shiny chromed, or anyways, there are two tiny metal screws. Those, you'll have to take that out. I didn't show it in how to take it out before, but I just found that the easiest thing was just a little Allen key. Goes right in there. I'll try and get the size and list it in there, but just putting a little Allen key in there, twist those screws out, and that whole unit came out. It just tabs in and out. It's not a difficult thing. It just tabs in and out and slides in and out. Now here you can see me with that little Allen key, and that's how I took those screws out. It worked out quite nicely. It just fits in, no problem, and just take those screws out when you're taking them out. Put them back in with it later on. Again, everything's plastic. Don't go crazy. You don't have to tighten the shite out of everything. When you're putting it back together, just take your top part. It hinges into the lower part of the plastic. Put your little rubber cover for your shifter. That all just snaps in quite easily. There's nothing really tricky about this whole job. For me, it took me about 3/4 of an hour because I had to figure everything out. So I'm hoping that this will help somebody, because I figure if you have the correct tools, which aren't too uncommon, I'll list them at the end of this video, you could probably do this job in about 15 minutes. Just taking your time just to gently pull things apart, note where they went, and put them back in. And we'll see in a few minutes, hopefully, that I've done this right and got rid of the problem. The last piece I'm having to fit back in is that lower cover that I popped off. It was pretty easy. You just start pulling at the bottom edge of the cover. It'll pop out of the tangs, and to put it back in is the reverse. As I mentioned, the tools that I needed a this is a 5/64 Allen key, and what it did was allow me to get those screws that hold the switch in place. Allow me to just reach in beside the steering wheel and just take those out easily. The other item was the sockets that I used were 732s to reach up underneath the steering and that holds the plastic covers in place. So those were 732s, and really that was the only two tools I needed to do this whole job. It's pretty straightforward, guys and girls. I mean, nowadays there's everybody out there doing this kind of stuff, which is awesome. But there we go. If this helps one of you out and saves you $300 at the dealership, good for you. The other thing was I paid about $80 for the switch up here in Canada, and I really felt that was quite reasonable. Okay, bye for now.